Your life, your world, your news. This is 69 News, live at 6.
This is yet another reminder that the world must unite. We must be together, regardless of nationality or race or faith, in fighting against the scourge of terrorism.
Uniting in the wake of tragedy once again. Tonight, the world is standing with Brussels after a deadly terror attack. 3 bombs, 2 targets, 1 hour apart in Belgium. It left dozens of people dead and scores more injured. Good evening once again. I'm Rob Vaughn.
And I'm Wendy Davis. First at 6 tonight, ISIS has claimed responsibility for the attacks that killed at least 31 people in Belgium early this morning.
Investigators in Brussels are blaming suicide bombers for those attacks. And tonight, the search is on for one suspect who is believed to have survived and gotten away. Authorities say the 3 men in this surveillance photo carried out 2 suicide bombings at the Brussels airport. The man pictured on the right is believed to have escaped. There's a manhunt underway at this hour to find him. 1 hour after the airport attack, there was another blast at a subway station across town. Both attacks happened at the peak of the morning commute in Brussels. At least 31 people were killed, 200 perhaps more than that hurt. U.S. officials say there are no known credible threats to U.S. interests, but security has been heightened at transportation hubs in major cities around the U.S. The attacks today come 4 days after Belgium police arrested Salah Abdeslam, the man you just saw there. Arrested him for the deadly attacks in Paris back in November. It's not known at this point if those incidents are related to the ones today. The attack in Brussels is just one of several major hits in Europe in recent years.
And local colleges say that harsh reality plays a big role in revamping their study abroad programs. WFMZ's Jamie Stover is live in our newsroom with that part of the story tonight. Jamie.
Well, Rob and Wendy, the majority of colleges in our area that we checked in with say they do not currently have any students studying abroad in Brussels, but they tell us they are constantly reevaluating and looking at their protocols and programs following natural disaster and terrorist events.
I took a deep breath.
Marianne Kusarik at Cedar Crest College after yet another terror attack in Europe, a hotbed for American college students studying abroad.
And I said, okay, let me take a quick look at all the students and where they're currently traveling today.
All were safe. At Muhlenberg College,
we do have one student who is traveling through Brussels. They are waiting to get out of the country, but she is fine.
Dr. Donna Kish-Goodling says after 9/11, parents and students are asking more questions and expressing more concern when contemplating study abroad programs.
The entire study abroad field is much more concerned about safety.
Muhlenberg and DeSales tell us participation in trips to Paris dropped after the attack in November, but say overall student international travel is steady. All 3 schools require students to register with the State Department in case of an emergency. And at DeSales University, students take pre-travel training.
In the event of an attack like today, students are prepared for what the first steps they should do. So find immediate safety. Once they've done that, then they need to get back to either their residence or to the school that they're studying at.
The directors of the study abroad program say they watch for travel bans, warnings, and look for ways to beef up safety measures.
We will, of course, always be reassessing our risk management process.
Now, Muhlenberg tells us that there are about 5 students currently in Europe that they have not yet made contact with. They do not believe that they are traveling in Brussels, but they are following up just to make sure. And the schools tell us that they do sometimes stop travel in areas, but at this time they do not have any plans to stop travel over in Europe. Reporting live in the newsroom, Jamie Stover, 69 News.
Thank you, Jamie. Just so happens that the attacks in Belgium unfolded at the same time that the Red Cross is teaching an important lesson in disaster preparation here at home. WFMZ's Kelly Gibbs is at Lehigh Carbon Community College with that story. Kelly?
Yeah, well, Rob, today was the last day of training for hundreds of American Red Cross volunteers right here at El Tri-C. Now, the goal was to take entry-level volunteers and train them to manage a larger disaster team. And there was also talk today of how these teams would respond should an incident like Brussels happen right here in the United States.
The Red Cross is always training, always ready to be there just at a minute's notice.
And to help keep volunteer groups prepared, hundreds of American Red Cross volunteers gathered at Lehigh Carbon Community College for a 4-day training institute.
Covering everything from our mass care side, which is our feeding and our sheltering, bulk distribution. We're also teaching folks how to become disaster instructors.
A big part of the training focused on how to properly supervise other volunteers in the event of any disaster, even one as large as the current terrorist attack in Belgium.
Typically, after any type of disaster, people need the immediate basics, the lodging, which we can do through sheltering, the feeding, and then obviously the recovery, the emotional and spiritual support.
And to help give volunteers a sense of how those operations might happen, feeding trucks were on site to give them a first-hand look at how they might be used.
And they're designed to do a number of things. Primarily, they're designed around mobile feeding, so that they can bring food to neighborhoods that have been stricken by disaster and they can feed straight out of the window.
A brand new course taught over the weekend is called Consolidated Team, a group of mental health services trained to make condolence calls. Pratt says that team would be crucial if a situation like Belgium were to happen here.
And that was a brand new course that was just created that we taught here this weekend, ironically. And those are the type of individuals that we'd be utilizing if a situation like that were to happen here in America.
Now, the Training Institute wrapped up earlier today. Hundreds walked away from these programs with a better understanding of how to manage a large-scale crisis should one happen here in the Lehigh Valley. Reporting live in Schnecksville, Kelly Gibbs, 69 News.
Thank you, Kelly. President Obama continues to make history in Havana. A day after meeting with Cuban President Raul Castro, the president addressed the Cuban people, once again called for the U.S. embargo to be lifted. WFMZ's Bo Colt now is joining us in the studio now with more on that and reaction from a local Cuban-American. Bo.
Outside of addressing the attack in Brussels, the president's 40-minute speech was centered on ushering in a new era in Cuba. However, a local Cuban native says it will take much more than just the U.S. to make that a reality.
I have come here to bury the last remnant of the Cold War in the Americas.
While President Obama called for the U.S. embargo against Cuba to be lifted, he also told those inside Havana's Grand Theater that despite thawing relations, there's still much work that needs to be done between the two countries.
I want to be clear. The differences between our governments over these many years are real, and they are important.
That's me right here.
Allentown's Leon Papier has lived those differences. Papier's family fled Cuba in 1960 when he was just 13 years old.
We were never told you're leaving everything you know, because through the school we had a basketball tournament coming up. My mom said, we're just going to be in Miami for a week.
54 years later, he watched something he says he should have seen 30 years ago, a U.S. president speaking in Havana.
Change. It's coming slowly, but you still have old guard here.
While Papier says a lifted embargo would be good, real change must come from within the island, especially with the government allowing livable wages for Cuban workers.
For right now, if you open a business, you might be paying, say, $600 a week for that employee. But that employee is getting $20. Government is getting the rest.
Inside his kitchen, the juxtaposition of a country hangs side by side. One with his father as a teen in the late 1930s, the other with him in 1960. So this Cuba is very different from
oh my God, Cuba. Yes.
He's hoping the president's trip can be the start of a new image for Cuba heading into the future.
A little late, but somebody had to do it.
And tonight, the first family will travel to Argentina. Meantime, the Republican presidential candidates are criticizing Obama for not cutting his trip short in light of the terror attacks in Brussels. Wendy?
Thank you, Bo. Well, we are learning more about the death of Monroe County man who died one day after getting into a fight with his nephew. The coroner says the death of Andre Lawrence was natural, caused by acute chronic alcoholism. His nephew, Kurdim, is currently facing assault charges for an alleged fight that took place the night before he died. According to the coroner, Andre Lawrence was badly beaten in the altercation, but that did not play a role in his death. A recent graduate of North Penn High School in Montgomery County has admitted to posting nude photos of female classmates on the internet. Brandon Berlin was sentenced to 2 years of probation today, along with 200 hours of community service. Investigators say Berlin gathered the photos of the students and posted them to a website connected to his Dropbox account. Many of the students were under the age of 18. Berlin pleaded guilty to a single charge of transmission of sexually explicit images by a minor.
In tonight's Wanted by the Police, investigators in Bethlehem Township are asking for the public's help to identify a woman wanted on criminal mischief charges. Police say the woman seen here is wanted for allegedly vandalizing a car, causing extensive damage to it. Happened on Saturday at the Giant Supermarket on Nazareth Pike. Authorities say she was seen driving away in a four-door maroon Hyundai Sonata. If you have information, contact the Bethlehem Township Police. There's more to come on 69 News.
The 2016 race for the White House is moving out west. We'll explain what's at stake coming up.
And officials in Northampton County announced plans to bring a health center into a local elementary school. Details on that just ahead, and Kathy's working on the forecast.
And we have partly cloudy skies throughout the evening hours and continuing throughout the night with a little bit of rain to the north. And get ready for that warm up. It starts tomorrow and stays straight through Thursday. As far as your holiday weekend goes, I'll have that for you in just a moment.